Good afternoon from Shenfield. Today I'm going to do this Elizabeth line service to Liverpool Street, calling at Brentwood, Haroldwood, Gidea Park, Romford, Chadwell Heath, Goodmayes, Seven Kings, Ilford, Manor Park, Forest Gate, Maryland, Stratford and London Liverpool Street.
This is the train to Liverpool Street. Next station.
I say it's better to take the Elizabeth line rather than the Greater Anglia, unless you're in a hurry and you have to. Unless you have to travel with Greater Anglia rather than the Elizabeth line. Journey time to Liverpool Street is supposed to be 40 or 45 minutes. Some Class 315s may still be in operation until September on the Elizabeth line. Well, that's not for public use, unfortunately. Then I'll do the Elizabeth line from London Paddington to Reading, or vice versa. If I do end up travelling to Reading, it could be, if it's a GWR service, I won't film that journey. However, I'll only film the Elizabeth line in one direction. This is the Elizabeth line service to the street. Thankfully, these seats have armrests. I'll stop filming until departure. Here comes the Southend bound Greater Anglia service. The doors are now locked. This is your 1318 Elizabeth line service to London Liverpool Street. Next stop, Brentwood. Thankfully I'm not on one of those ugly trains.
This is the train to Liverpool Street.
Hello, Norwich service.
Next station, Brentwood.
Goodbye, Norwich services.
If you see something that doesn't look right, speak to staff or text British Transport Police on 61016. We'll sort it. See it, say it, sorted.
I think it might be a bit too hot to wear my raincoat. I'll only wear a raincoat if it starts raining again, which probably won't happen till later on. My video of the journey from Stratford to Meridian Water is still uploading. However, signal in these areas is rather poor, especially at stations. The current time is 13:19 British Summertime, or 12:19 Coordinated Universal Time, which is 1 hour behind British Summertime. British summertime will end on 30th of October and will change back to Coordinated Universal Time.
Next station, Brentwood.
Lots of good YouTubers do videos of the Elizabeth line, especially Jeff Marshall. I couldn't
Mind the
do.
gap between the train and the platform.
Unfortunately, I had both college and work yesterday, which meant I couldn't do the Elizabeth line. Had I done London Overground, Lee Valley lines and Romford to Upminster alongside the Liverpool Street to Shenfield, then it would have been on one of the Class 315s, London Overground and TfL Rail, or the Class 317s, London Overground only.
Brentwood. This is the train to Liverpool Street. Next station, Wood.
There's one of the old Class 321s which I would have been better off doing to Shenfield. If only I had waited for. If only I had lunch in Stratford and got on that Class 321. The Elizabeth line station.
The train to Liverpool Street. Next station, Wood.
The Elizabeth line station at Bond Street will open eventually. To those trains because of the cramped seating configuration. I think I'll be better off not doing those trains, especially to Ipswich or Clacton-on-Sea. GWR did borrow some of the Gatwick Express and the C2C Class 387s, while some GWR IET services trains were not in service. The Class 387s only operate on services from London Paddington to Gidea Parkway and Newbury, also Reading to Newbury. They did operate to Cardiff once. I think they only use one Class 387 a day on Cardiff Central services. As the line beyond Cardiff Central to Swansea, Carmarthen and Pembroke Dock is not electrified. Neither is the line from Chippenham to Bristol Temple Meads or from Bristol Parkway to Bristol Temple Meads. GWR network only electrified London Paddington to Heathrow Airport, although GWR don't serve there. Reading, Newbury, Gidea Parkway, Bristol Parkway, Chippenham and Cardiff Central. Some of the valley lines in the Cardiff area, some of the valley lines north of Cardiff are eventually being electrified. Near Aberdare. I'm not too sure when I'll do the Cardiff Valley lines, as some of the stations are a bit difficult to pronounce. Cardiff Central to Bridgend via Roos Cardiff International Airport. Rimney to Penarth, Corriton to Rada or Radia, Treherbert to Cardiff Central, Aberdare and all Merthyr Tydfil
Next station, Harold Wood.
to Barry Island.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform.
Harold Wood. Once again, this station is only served by Elizabeth Line services. Romford, you can change for London Overground and Greater Anglia services. Stratford, Central and Jubilee lines, DLR, London Overground and Greater Anglia. Liverpool Street, the end of the line. Stratford is our penultimate stop. Liverpool Street will be our final stop, where you can change for the Central, Circle, Hammersmith and City and Metropolitan lines, London Overground and Greater Anglia services, including the Stansted Express.
Harold Wood. This is a train to Liverpool Street. Next station, Gidea Park.
Forest Gate changed for overground services from Wanstead Park.
This is the train to Liverpool Street. Next station, Gidea Park.
I'm planning on doing Leeds again sometime in June with LNER, because on Twitter they've recently changed first class menus. Sorry. And I'd love to give some of the new first class food a try. Gidea Park depots, Elizabeth Line train in storage, a couple of more Elizabeth Line trains. It must have been a freight train.
Next station, Gidea Park. The gap between the train and the platform.
Doors at Gidea Park are opening on the right hand side. Yeah, those fast platforms those platforms 2 and 1 are closed off for a reason.
Gidea Park. This is the train to Liverpool Street. Next station, Romford.
The Elizabeth Line isn't entirely open just yet. It's just a Liverpool Street to Shenfield, Abbey Wood to Paddington, and Paddington to Heathrow Airport and Reading. At this time,
This is the train to Liverpool Street.
At this time, Heathrow Terminal 4 is still closed.
Romford.
Yeah, Terminal 4 at Heathrow Airport is still closed until July, apparently.
For London Overground lines and National Rail services.
Bond Street won't open until later on this year. The lifts at Bank Station on the Northern Line will will eventually be installed. And there is the Romford to Upminster branch. I was last here at Romford 6 months ago, which was November last year in 2021. It's now,
next station, Romford.
thankfully it's now 2022. There's a link between the Great Eastern Main Line and the Romford
Mine's the
Upminster
gap between the train and the platform.
branch. And there is a Southend Victoria bound Greater Anglia service. It's going to be rather crowded here.
This is the train to Liverpool Street. Next station, Chadwell Heath.
I think the train to Leeds will be on the preferably on the Interstate 225 Class 91 at the northern end, 9 Mark IV carriages and a Mark IV driving van trailer at the London end.
This is the train to Liverpool Street. Next station, Chadwell Heath.
Being overtaken by one of the terrible fast trains. The intercity trains between Liverpool Street and Norwich do look fantastic, and I haven't done those yet. Good service on all London Underground lines, DLR, Elizabeth Line, London Overground and tram services. Which is a good thing. They've improved the maps on the Bakerloo, Central, Jubilee and Northern lines as far as I know of. The only improvements they've had were adding the Elizabeth line. Shame they haven't done that to the Circle, Hammersmith and City and Metropolitan line, DLR and London Overground maps. I think on GWR services the announcements may still say TfL Rail even though it's rebranded to Elizabeth Line. Journey time from Abbey Wood to Paddington I'm looking at is supposed to be estimated half an hour.
Next station, Chadwell Heath. Mind's the gap between the train and the platform.
I'll redo all other London Underground lines, including the DLR, London Overground and tram services throughout July and as well as the Avanti West Coast services to Liverpool or Manchester, depending on which type of Class 3 night is used, refurbished or unrefurbished.
Chadwell Heath.
Preferably refurbished.
This is the train to Liverpool Street. Next station, Goodmayes.
Other good journeys planned, Lumo or LNER up to Edinburgh, Avanti West Coast to Glasgow, Liverpool, Manchester and or Birmingham, GWR to Bristol, Plymouth, Penzance.
This is the train to Liverpool Street. Next station, Goodmayes.
GWR IET from Paddington to Bristol, Temple Meads, Oxford, Worcester, Shrub Hill, Great Malvern, Hereford, Taunton, Exeter, St David's, Paignton, Plymouth, Penzance, Cardiff Central or Swansea. Could also be to Cheltenham Spa via Swindon and Gloucester.
Next station, Goodmayes.
Greater Anglia to Norwich or Cambridge North.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform.
Cambridge North because of them Class 317s. Also, an intercity train from Norwich to London Liverpool Street overtaking us, as we call that, Goodmayes.
Goodmayes. This is the train to Liverpool Street. Next station, Seven Kings.
Apart from those other journeys I'll be doing. Probably redoing LNER to Leeds in first class. Preferably on those old trains with very comfortable leather first class seats.
This is the train to Liverpool Street. Next station, Seven Kings.
And probably Hull trains to Hull, Grand Central to Bradford Interchange or Sunderland.
Next station, Seven Kings.
Or even East Midlands Railway up from London St Pancras to Sheffield, Nottingham or Corby. As long as it's not on Class 180 where you'll be going nowhere. I think Greater Anglia's biggest mistake, in my opinion, was definitely the Class 720.
Seven Kings. This is the train to Liverpool Street. Next station, Ilford.
So 2015 was when TfL Rail started, replacing Greater Anglia stopping services between Liverpool Street and Shenfield. London Overground services on the Romford to Upminster branch and the Lee Valley lines started,
Liverpool Street.
that we all know and love today.
Next station, Ilford.
2017 is when the Class 345 entered service. Then I believe sometime either 2020, end of 2019 or last year was when the Class 345 was when the Class 710 entered service with London Overground. 2017 was when the Class 345 entered service with TfL Rail. 2018, Heathrow Connect services are killed off and replaced by TfL Rail services to Heathrow Airport. Same with GWR services to Hayes and Harlington. But the Class 345s don't go to Heathrow until 2000, didn't go until 2020. 2019 was when the TfL Rail services to Reading began, and the first time that contactless only payment was to be used to Reading.
Next station, Ilford.
Then, I think 2020 was when TfL Rail started sending Class 345s to Heathrow Airport.
Marks the gap between the train and the platform.
And at Reading services we're still using, probably still using GWR Class 387s or the Class 345s that we all know and love today. All Class 360s on the Paddington to Heathrow services were killed off and put into storage. Yesterday, TfL Rail became the Elizabeth line, opening between Paddington and Abbey Wood. Bond Street is set to open later on in the year.
Ilford. This is the train to Liverpool Street. Next station, Manor Park.
Paddington to Abbey Wood did open yesterday, and then the Elizabeth line won't open entirely until by the end of next year, I think. Will be Abbey Wood and Shenfield to Heathrow Airport and Reading. Hello, Shenfield bound Elizabeth line service. We could be stuck here on a red signal for a while. Actually, the doors are just locked, which means we are cleared to depart. Goodbye, Ilford. See you soon, eventually.
This is the train to Liverpool Street. Next station, Manor Park.
There's one of the Class 315s, which have been sadly put into storage and will probably be scrapped, like how all London Overground Class 315s and 317s were scrapped. Unfortunately, the same fate will go to LNER's Intercity 225 units. Avanti West Coast will send all of its voyages to cross-country by the end of this year, or the beginning of next year, I think. Sometime this year or next year. The voyages operating on services from London Euston to Birmingham New Street, Shrewsbury, Chester, Wrexham General and Holyhead.
Station, Manor Park.
Manor Park.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform.
Some train journeys I probably won't do, such as the Heart of Wales line from Shrewsbury to Swansea or Carmarthen via Sugarloaf. I think the scenery is great, it's just the length of the line itself. And there probably won't be any trolley service on board.
Manor Park. This is the train to Liverpool Street. Next station, Forest Gate.
Catering is available on Avanti West Coast, Caledonian Sleeper, LNER, Grand Central, Lumo, Transpennine Express.
This is the train to Liverpool Street.
And
Next station, Forest Gate.
and Cross Country.
Change for London Overground lines.
From Wanstead Park.
Exit for Wanstead Park, London Overground station. Station, Forest Gate. Street. Next station, Maryland.
Catering is available on the following train operators, but only on select services. East Midlands Railway on intercity services from London St Pancras to Sheffield and Nottingham. GWR on IET services in and out of Paddington towards Exeter, Bristol, Plymouth, Penzance, Cardiff, Swansea, Carmarthen, Pembroke Dock during the summer only.
This is the train to Liverpool
Also
Street.
to Oxford, Worcester, Hereford and Great Malvern. And on some regional
Next
services.
Station, Maryland.
And on some regional services within the on the Cardiff to Portsmouth and Cardiff to Taunton services. Not too sure whether or not catering is available on Hull trains, as I've never travelled with them before. I think catering might also be available on Greater Anglia, but only on intercity services between London, Liverpool Street and Norwich.
Next station, Maryland. Mind the gap between the train and the platform.
Catering is available on most long-distance ScotRail services from Edinburgh and Glasgow Queen Street to Aberdeen and Inverness. Also services north of Inverness to Kyle of Lockhorsh, Wick and Thurso, as well as on the Aberdeen to Inverness line. Train to Liverpool Street. Next station, Stratford. Catering may also be available on Northern's Settle to Carlisle services. Specifically, Northern services on the Settle to Carlisle line that runs between Carlisle and Leeds via Settle.
This is the train to Liverpool Street.
Stations served on the Settle to Carlisle services: Leeds, Shipley,
Next station, Stratford.
Keighley, Skipton, Gargrave, Hellifield,
Change for Central, Jubilee, London Overground lines, DLR, and National Rail Services.
Hellifield, Long Preston, Settle,
Exit
Horton,
for Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park.
Settle, Horton and Ribblesdale, Ribblehead, Dent, Garsdale, Kirkby Stephen, Appleby, Langworthby, Lazenby and Kirkoswald, Armouthwaite and Carlisle. Catering is also available on
Next station, Stratford.
on many long-distance Transport for Wales rail services, such as Manchester Piccadilly to Milford Haven via Crewe, Shrewsbury, Newport, Cardiff Central, Bridgend, Swansea, Llanelli and Carmarthen. It's a Central Line service to Hainault via Newbury Park. I enjoy the Central Line because it's usually very quiet at Epping and Woodford stations, regardless of the time of day.
Stratford. This is the train to Liverpool Street.
There goes the Central Line service. Catering could be on some Southwestern Railway services from Waterloo to Weymouth and Portsmouth, as well as London Waterloo to Salisbury and Exeter. Catering is not available on the following train operating company services, excluding London Overground and Elizabeth Line. Not available on Thameslink and Great Northern, Gatwick Express, Heathrow Express,
This is the train to
Stansted
Liverpool
Express,
Street.
Southern and Southeastern. That includes high-speed services.
Next station, Liverpool Street. Change for Central, Circle, Hammersmith City, Metropolitan, London Overground lines, and National Rail Services. Exit for trains to Stansted and Southend airports.
Which are not as good as, which are not as reliable as City, Gatwick or Heathrow airports. I think that train is on a test run. Soon, tunnels, soon. That's Pudding Mill Lane on the DLR. I think that you can sit at the front of DLR trains just during quieter times only. Not during peak hours where there's lots of people. So try and grab a front seat on the DLR if you can. Maybe even a back seat. Journey time so far on the Elizabeth line hasn't been too bad. Now 37 minutes after leaving Shenfield. Where the West Anglia main line comes in. That there is Bethnal Green, served by the Central line and the London Overground only. No Greater Anglia or Elizabeth line trains that stop here at all. We're now closing in on Liverpool Street, where you can change for the Central, Circle, Hammersmith and City and Metropolitan lines, London Overground and Greater Anglia services, as well as the C2C services on Saturdays and Sundays. You can also change here for Stansted Express services operating on behalf of Greater Anglia to Stansted Airport. And there's flags of various countries in the world. Some of those I do recognise. I think that above us might be the East London line. Or is it? Maybe it could just be another road. This is our final stop. Time to get ready to leave the train. The reason why I did Hampton Court was just in case the South Western Railway would be
Liverpool Street, where this train terminates.
just in case the South Western Railway retired its Class 455s at the same time that Southern did.
If you see something that doesn't look right, speak to staff or text British Transport Police on 61016. We'll sort it. See it, say it, sorted.
That there is a ex-Northern Class 321/9 used
What's the gap between the train and the platform?
used to operate on the Doncaster to Leeds route alongside the Class 322, as well as some other electrified services in West Yorkshire, including Leeds to Bradford Forster Square, Ilkley and Skipton, Bradford Forster Square to Skipton, and Leeds and Ilkley to Bradford Forster Square.
No gym today.
Excuse me, please. Liverpool Street, the end of our 40 or so minutes long Elizabeth line journey from Shenfield. Now we just need to go to Abbey Wood. The Elizabeth line trains do look amazing. This train will leave as the 1402 to Ipswich. I'm not travelling on this train, just having a look at it before it leaves. Gonna quickly admire this train before it leaves for Ipswich. The beauty of the Class 321. Apparently only operates on services to Clacton-on-Sea and Ipswich. I'd rather go on this train to Ipswich or Clacton rather than a shitty class at 720. That there is the quote-unquote first class section. Standard class passengers are allowed to sit there. These are the ex-Northern. I'm not travelling. The ex-Northern Class 321. As this train is now leaving for Ipswich, it's time to get off the platform. And without further ado, let's get off the platform and touch out and travel to Abbey Wood. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.